The Search for a Strawberry Thief. Written by Jacob Yates. Read to you by Jacob Yates. Audio by LaunchPod Media. Was a summer as easy as summers can go when I entered my garden, and what do you know? Every strawberry gone from the stem of each plant. It got my blood boiling, which forced out a rant. A thief must have come while I slept in my bed. I was dreaming of fruit they were eating instead. Looking round the whole plot, I could see it was clear. No regular robber had visited here. It's a swindler of sweets, just the worst kind of fiend. They leave alone cabbage and lettuce and bean, won't nibble a radish or touch collard greens, but berries they'll gather and gobble all seen. I searched in the dirt and I found my first clue, an army of tracks from a small two-toed shoe. The footprints all weaved, up and down they did roam. They combined in a bunch, leading straight for my home. I clenched both my fists, with my face going red, then kicked at the air in frustration and said, "Must be Siri Kincurran, the hob of my haul. She's stealing from me? The amount of sheer gall." So seething with anger, I stomped on inside, and went straight for the hearth where the hob did reside. I spat on the mantel and knocked on it low, then waited impatient for Siri to show. With a hob kind of magic, as fast as she could, the wee woman appeared out of nowhere and stood right before me and grinned her quick pocket-sized smile, which made it much harder to put her on trial. "Good morning, dear Siri," I said right away. "It's looking to be a peculiar day." She opened her mouth to concur, I am sure, but before she could answer, I gave it to her. "The garden's been raided, the strawberries gone. All eaten at sunset or maybe at dawn. The crook only left her small footprints galore, which led me back home right through the front door." I stopped with the tale, let it sink deeply in, to see if she guessed where my thinking had been. Understanding was written all over her face, poked a finger at me and put me in my place. "How dare you, barbarian?" shouted the maid. "A century of service, and how am I paid? With accusations, all baseless, and blame for a crime I wouldn't commit even if I had time. Every day it's me cleaning each inch of this hut. I've done it for years, now I ask you for what?" She conjured from nowhere a traveling sack, and I knew if she left, she wouldn't be back. Not wasting a moment, I hurried to say, "Dear Siri, I'm sorry. I beg that you stay. I mistakenly thought it was you. Now I see you're no thief, but I ask then, who could it be?" "No mystery is solved from a solitary clue," winked the hob from her perch. "You've more work you must do." She nodded and magicked her luggage away, then set about doing her chores for the day. In the garden again, I went looking for signs. Some bauble or knick-knack concealed among vines, a hair on a branch, or some cloth on the ground. I looked and I looked, but no clues could be found. With the search looking vain and no end yet in sight, I picked a ripe lilu to soothe my glum plight. Near the fruit, in the dirt, there were prints leading out to the forest, and the thief that I sought I'd no doubt. With a whoop and a holler and a leap in the air, I ran straight to the woods without thought or a care that the realm I would enter held dangers within. Vexed spirits, mad kings, even magical jinn. Around mushrooms the size of some giant's left shoe, by bushes and trees I went chasing on through, past a herd of gold cooey which darted away from a single-horned jang with a coat full of gray. Bright Adarna took flight as I ran in between to a river whose bank had no bridge to be seen. But with Kappa connected like links of a chain on top of the water, my course was quite plain. I ran at the closest and jumped in the sky. I hopped on its head and went scurrying by. From the top of each Kappa, I leapt all the way to the opposite side and without a delay. I followed the prince to Mount Nundatsu's base, to a clearing revealing a curious place. A circular meadow with lavender grass, with beetles and bugs shining bright like new brass. In the midst of it all stood a mountainous tree. Its leaves were like sails on a ship out at sea. It was thousands feet tall, at least 3, maybe 4, and could house a large city of millions or more. At its feet I saw sitting alone near a spring what looked like a man, but with claws and with wings and a nose much too long for a creature his size. But what he held in his hands was the biggest surprise. "My strawberries, sir!" I exclaimed as I neared. I saw he already had bits in his beard. He was munching them down in bunches of 3s. "Stop that this instant, I beg of you, please." Looking up from his meal, he replied with a "No." His voice was like gravel, all gritty and low. "These are mine, can't you see? And I truly must say, they're the best of the gifts I've received here today." "You've received?" I asked, not believing a word. "Who's giving you gifts? This is rather absurd. You stole them. Admit it. Right now I demand. Give me back what is left. Put it here in my hand." Propelled by great wings, the man sprang from his seat, then launched at me swiftly, not missing a beat. He grabbed both my ankles and shot toward the sky, the tree a great blur as we flurried on by. We went faster and faster. We blazed through the air, nearly knocked off a shug as it sat in its chair. As abrupt as we started, we stopped, still aloft. He glared at me cold as a glacier and scoffed. "You come to my home, yet you lack all respect. No offering to give, nor a prayer, I suspect. Do you know who I am? I'm the king of this nation, King Hano the Red of the 12th generation. You claim me a crook, that I took from your plot. I should drop you right now, yes, right here on the spot." I was shaking from flying and fear of the tumble to the earth down below, and I started to mumble. "What was that?" the king asked, his black wings flapping strong. I cleared out my throat, and I said, "I was wrong." To explain, I recounted events of the day. The king raised an eyebrow, all bushy and gray. "Well," he replied, "that's a story indeed. I hope that you locate the crook with great speed. Yet, this has nothing to do with offenses you've made. I require a prayer or an offering paid." I reached in my pocket and grabbed what I'd cached, the lilu I'd grabbed from the garden and stashed. "An offering, take it," I said with a grin. "It's a fruit of my making, like figs, with a spin." He took it, examined it, and sniffed it real good. Went plop in his mouth about as fast as it could. Then his eyes both went wide as he tasted the food. "You created this gem?" the king asked as he chewed. I shrugged. "I suppose I should say that I grew it. It's not all that hard. I can teach you to do it." "Don't instruct me," he said. "Simply give me some more. I want 50, 600, 8,004. "Certainly, king, but I may need your aid. I have to return, and I can't be delayed. The brigand of berries could be at my dwelling to leave nothing behind but tales for the telling." King Hanno then flipped me, upright and true, which allowed me to see a spectacular view. The forest and mountains, the rivers and streams, the sun among clouds with its bright golden beams. "Which way is your home?" asked the king, looking out. "Simply point the direction. We'll get you en route." I found it with ease, barely outside the trees. "It's there, at the edge, just beyond your green seas." Without warning, King Hanno then threw me ahead, but I didn't go far, and I thought I was dead. But he pulled from his cloak a hand fan of great size and whipped it about till a cyclone did rise. The winds whisked around, lifting me high, and like lightning they hurled me forth with a cry. I zoomed through the clouds and I zagged by the sun. I whooshed past a rainbow and laughed as I spun. I danced with the wind and the breeze hugged me near. I closed both my eyes and I let out a cheer. Mid-shout, my flight changed and I began to drop. I fell to the ground with a massive kerplop. I found I'd returned to my garden once more, and I noticed it wasn't the same as before. Between vegetables, herbs, the spices, and fruits, an odd creature with hair like a tangle of roots stood holding a bowl that was filled to the brink with strawberries red, deep purple, and pink. "A troll?" I exclaimed, "and it's stealing my crop! This business must end. I demand that it stop." The critter was still, didn't scuttle away, but cleared out his throat as he started to say, "Why, hello there, old chap. It's time that we meet. My name is Sir Chatelard Hawkins Montuy. As the 10th of my name, but the first of my nose, I should thank you for growing this food, I suppose." "You suppose?" I replied with a dumbfounded look. "Why, you've cleared me all out, you diminutive crook." "A crook?" said the troll. "How ungrateful, you swine! I've not stolen a thing that is yours and not mine. It is true, I have borrowed a bucket or two, only borrowed as any good trollkin would do. And what I have taken I've tripled for free. Just look at your patch with its berries and see." He gestured behind, and I saw what he meant. With so many berries, the plants were all bent and sagging, near snapping from the size and the weight. They threatened to burst through my favorite gate. "How'd this happen?" I asked. "There was nothing this morning. The berries were gone, disappeared without warning." I first scratched my chin, then my head for good measure. Sir Chatelard beamed, and he said, "It was my pleasure." I looked at the creature, confused as could be. "I don't understand not one bit what you mean." He laid down his bowl, and he took out a flute, put the pipe to his lips with his eyes on the fruit. He played a sweet song, and the crops must have heard, For with each note he played, something curious occurred. The plants started popping and crackling too. Then they grew and they grew. They grew. My jaw promptly dropped like a stone from a peak. I've seen some fine magic, but that was unique. Sir Shagtalar beamed as he bowed deep and low. How do you do it? I asked. I really must know. He said, It's a wandering road, the way of the trolls. It sinks into valleys and rises with knolls, sees sunshine and clouds in the same afternoon, meanders through deserts and strolls through lagoons. That is to say, the use of one's magic depends on the troll. Some shatter and break, others help and console. There are many that search for the easiest life, with luxurious comforts devoid of all strife. I traveled the road with the hope that I find any way I can help or a chance to be kind. He nodded. I frowned, just confused as could be. Well, you've lost me, I said, and I fail to see how strawberries, roads, and your kindness connect. Your purpose and creed I absolutely respect. But who are you helping by raiding then growing? Is there something you've done that I missed without knowing? I told you, said Shagtalar, grabbing his bowl. No raiding, just borrowing like any good troll. I took your fine berries and gave them away to a hard-working hob on her feet every day, and to the loneliest person who happens to be a whimsical king at the base of a tree. Now I'm off to serve more, as always there are, like this family of Kappa with headaches not far. You're welcome to come and to help if you wish. Just pick up a bucket, a bowl, or a dish, and fill it with fruit to the brim overflowing. We'll need all we can carry where we plan on going. So I got an old bucket and filled it with treats, with melons and berries, with lilu and beets. I hopped into step with the troll on a quest to help those in need, the alone and depressed. We visited the Kappa. Apologies were given. No worries, they said. Why, of course you're forgiven. We gifted some apples to a clan of kobolds and gave ginger tea to a grell with a cold. An owlbear looking dejected and glum was cheerful and bright when we offered a plum. We listened to myths at the hut of Miss Wren and shared with King Hanno and Ciri again. All over I followed Sir Shagtalar's lead as we scoured the forest for creatures in need. We're still looking. In fact, we go out every week. With a bowl and a bucket, together we seek any person or creature or beast in the land in need of some help that we might lend a hand. So you see, this tale's not about any thief in the end, but a troll who became my very best friend. The end.